Namaste, everyone. Today we are at this podcast with Miss Sheela Krishnaswamy. She's a leading nutritionist and dietitian. And considering that health is so important in today's world and eating the right kind of food is something that the entire world is talking about. So, as somebody who is really popular in India, we want her to give us some, lowdown on what's the good food, what's good eating, the correct habits, some body positivity issues, topics related to women's gynecological health and so on. So let's start. Welcome, Sheela ji, to the Organiser podcast.
Thank you so much, Sharmi. Really nice of you to have me here, and
Yes,
thank you for all the lovely words.
Because you have always advocated good eating,
Yeah.
correct eating,
Yes.
and how we are what we eat.
Yes.
So there is so much of misinformation rife everywhere. So how important do you think is food? What I mean is our lifestyle is how important is it to include the right kind of food into our lifestyles so that our body behaves or reacts in the correct manner.
I cannot emphasize the importance of nutrition and eating right, because I think nutrition is, let's say, food. Food is one of the necessities for life and for health, right? And nutrition kind of is a bridge between food and health. So it kind of connects food and health very beautifully. And that's what is nutrition all about. Nutrition science is all about eating right, maintaining health, preventing diseases, preventing deficiencies, and also helping to age successfully and age gracefully. Because, I mean, let's face it, we are all aging day by day, right? So let's age without having all these burdens of diseases and problems and all of that.
So I think it's always better to eat well and eat right so
Yeah.
that you prevent the
Absolutely.
influx of diseases and you don't
Absolutely.
burn your pocket with
Yeah.
medicines.
True.
Rather you eat well and you live a healthier
Absolutely, very well said.
But Sheela ji, there is so much of information on social media. Every other day we see a new page cropping up and suggesting that you should eat this and you should eat that, and this is what our ancestors ate, and so we have to go back, and certain things it's very certain things look very attractive, certain things appear a little fishy. How does one navigate through this whole mountain of information that is available on social media to understand what is to be followed and what is to be be what we need to be wary of?
I'm so glad you brought this up, Sharmi. Because everybody asks the same question, who do I follow? Who is giving the right information? And you're right, and it's creating so much of confusion in people's minds because there are so many influencers, nutritionists out there talking about a whole lot of things, and some of them are scientifically valid, but not everything is. So just to make it look popular, or just to please everybody, they just say a few things. Probably they have the gift of the gab too. So that helps a lot. And unfortunately, not everybody is qualified. So what we need to do is follow or listen to or meet with a qualified dietitian or a qualified nutritionist. That's one thing. If you want individualized meal plans, personalized nutrition is what we call it now. So if you want tailor-made meal plans, which is suited to your health or somebody else's health, meet a dietitian, meet a qualified dietitian or a nutritionist who can give you the proper guidance. But if you just want to know about general health, general nutrition, and things like that, follow somebody who is qualified. If you're not sure whether the person is qualified or not, check the credentials, ask for credentials. If the person is saying something, let's say if I'm saying protein is good for you, eat more protein or something like that, ask me why, ask me how, question me. It doesn't matter. Because if I'm qualified, I will have the right answer. But if somebody is not qualified, he or she may not have the right answer. Ask for science based information, ask for evidence based information. There is and only qualified people can give you the right, put you on the right track and put you, give you the right information. But if you're not qualified, you probably will not even know where to look.
Yes, I think this whole thing about sensationalization
Yeah.
is so big these days that anything that catches on the trend, like you have these names called turmeric latte, and you have these things called vegan diet and keto diet, means just because it's a trend and people want to follow it, but a proper dietitian, a qualified dietitian, actually would be able to deconstruct whether an individual's body is open to accepting such diets, means, and do these diets actually really work, or are they just fancy, and these are just fancy words?
See, the trend of the so-called fad diets, fancy diets, whatever you want to call them, started way back. In fact, if you go into the history of it, I don't know, it started more than 100 years ago, I think. There have been different kinds of diets, but more recently, I think in the 90s, it was this GM diet or something which became very popular, started by General Motors in the US, and they asked their employees to go on a very, very rigid diet. Only vegetables one day, only fruits one day, only water one day, something like that. I don't even remember. I think they wanted to improve the health of the employees or something like that. So that was a very fashionable thing that they did. Obviously, it didn't sustain. But then it became very popular outside of their country.
Such kind of strictures to how it's not a balanced plan.
Not at all. It basically restricts the calorie intake.
Okay.
Even if you look at more recently, the Atkins diet came in, and then the keto diet, as you rightly said. Yeah. Right. So all of those came in. So what they do is, how much of protein or fat can a person eat? So, and they ask you to cut down carbohydrates to a very, very large extent.
Okay.
So while carbohydrate intake is so minuscule, let's face it, as Indians, we are a carb eating nation.
Yes.
Right? We love our carbohydrates, whether it's rice or wheat or whatever it may be, jowar roti or bajre ki roti or whatever it may be.
I think it also has a lot to do with that. We need that energy to do.
Yes, physical. Yes. Well, we needed that energy to do physical work.
Yes.
Currently most of us are sedentary, so we might not need that kind of energy. Yes. But still we do love our carbs, right? And we do eat it every day. It's a part of our culture. It's a part of our food system.
And our geography.
Yes. Yeah. So asking us to drastically reduce it or make it almost zero and eat a lot of protein. And where does protein come from? Mostly from meats and pulses and dals and nuts and seeds and all of that, right? And dairy, of course. So expecting a person to eat so much of meat or fish or egg or dairy or pulses, whatever it may be, and very high fat. So something like that is maybe palatable to some extent, but not for a long time, and definitely not to a large extent. So something like that, if you're drastically changing your diet, you're bound to eat less. You cannot eat that much that you normally eat. So there will be, to some extent, there will be a calorie restriction, and the food, the consumption, everything pattern, everything changes. So yes, there would be initial weight loss and things like that, and that's what people look for normally when they go on these diets, right? So initially the weight loss happens, but then these diets are not sustainable. So over a period of time, you go back to including carbs
and all that. And also
exactly.
your mood swings.
Absolutely. And there is so much of inflammation because of high fat, high meat diet. There's so much of inflammation, which is the beginning of a lot of diseases.
Oh my God.
Right? So, heart disease begins with inflammation. Diabetes begins with obesity is also connected to inflammation. So there's so much of things going wrong we can't see it outside. Exactly. We only see the weighing scale, the numbers going down on the scale, and we think, oh, I'm doing great on this diet. But we don't see what's happening inside.
Your body gets affected from inside.
Absolutely.
So India, like, what would you tell Indians that, because India has this the masses have this thing about, okay, so if the West is doing this, it must be something really good, so we should follow it. What will it take for experts like you to tell the Indian masses that, go back to your roots, your culture, your diversity? India is such a diverse country, and everywhere there are these food cultures in different states that actually is very region related, culture related, taste related, agriculture. Every state has this thing that is popular there because the stuff is available over there. The seasons, the place, the prakriti. So where do experts like you come in to tell the audience that, look, don't look westward. Your country is rich enough with all these cultures and food habits. Try to follow them. Try to listen to what your ancestors used to do, and they were a much healthier generation. And we had food powered by naturopathy, by Ayurveda. So how do experts like you come into that scene?
I think there are multiple ways. Okay, having said that, it's very difficult for just one set of people as dietitians and nutritionists to do everything, right? So I think it requires a multi-pronged approach. So while the government is already formulating policies and FSSAI is doing a lot of campaigns like Eat Right India, and they ran this Aaj Se Thoda Kam campaign some time back, which was hugely popular. And through that campaign, they asked people to reduce the consumption of fat, salt, and sugar. Yeah, and it was on TV, it was everywhere, on the social media and everywhere, and it became quite popular. So people, at least for a small period of time, became a little more conscious about that. But then that campaign is no longer active. So something like that. So what I'm trying to say is, so if there are regular campaigns from the from the government,
and much more like consolidated participation by the government.
And also some policy changes, policy decisions, even like simple thing like regulating the profession of nutritionists and dietitians. Because when our profession is regulated, then all the
spurious elements,
yes, so-called the fake nutritionists will just fade away, and the real ones will get to speak. And I think we need to be involved in all the steps of decision making, and whether it's for individuals, whether it's for groups, whether it's in educational institutions. So we have our profession, as professionals, we are already there. It requires the government to help us out. It requires the parents and teachers, because I believe that parents are role models for their children. Teachers also lead by example. I mean, both teachers and parents, because that's who children look up to, right? So if they can lead by example, I think children will start to understand
the importance
of health,
like
of eating right,
in schools,
everything.
like a small thing, like canteens, the food that is served in canteens.
Caterer,
in canteens, you have the worst. They have these synthetic juices and these very soft drinks, and you have these greasy chow, and you have these sugar laden brownies and cupcakes and whatever. I'm sure children do need some indulgences, but to balance it out with something that is more wholesome and nutritious, and also train the pantry hands to make tasty but nutritious food.
I totally agree, because some of the schools have cafeterias where meals are served, right? Or if the food vendors or caterers or whatever they are called, if they also can pitch in and be a part of this multi-pronged approach, because they are the ones who actually prepare everything and make it available for the children. Not just in schools, even in colleges, even in offices. We have office cafeterias where the caterers, they always think of taste much more than health.
Yes.
So I think we need to give, yes, taste is important, because if
Right.
it's not tasty and bland, no one's going to eat it, right? So I think we need to start to combine taste with health.
Health.
And I mean, there is an emerging science called culinary medicine, which is becoming popular in the West. And I do hope it comes to India as well, because that blends taste and health. Right.
Okay.
So if, and I think more awareness on nutrition is essential. Getting nutrition, basic nutrition as a part of the curriculum in school studies or in college or even in the medical education or wherever, I think everybody needs to understand the basics of nutrition and how important it is, because it is such an important pillar for health, in prevention of deficiencies and diseases and everything. Nutrition is so important.
I think our country has this rich knowledge that we need to really kind of get out of wherever it is being hidden, because the West has, after all, propagated all the wrong narratives of vending machines serving donuts and chips, and these things are openly accessible in schools, and children go out, and the whole a generation becoming obese because of that. So instead of following the fancy Western formula, we have to go back to our roots and understand that our eating habits have always been much more balanced and much more diverse and culturally rooted. So now we'll move on to one really important aspect that I wanted to broach in this session is a lot of issues that maybe even 10 years ago or 20 years ago didn't exist or wasn't that rampant. People say that it's all lifestyle, it's all stress, but I think food has also got to do a lot with what's happening. So what is your
I agree
take on
with you. It's the entire lifestyle, because yes, stress can play havoc on hormonal balance, right? So stress has a role to play. Lack of physical activity has a role to play. The sedentary life and stuff. The sleep cycle is changing. That has a role to play. We're not getting enough. We're such a sleep deprived nation today, right? Not like when, that many decades ago, we would go to bed early, get up early and do all of that. So sleep is important, because that again plays havoc with hormones. Nutrition is also important. So what I'm trying to do here is mention all the lifestyle pillars, because everything is important when it comes to hormonal balance. So when it comes to nutrition, eating a lot of refined carbs like maida-based products, sugary items, desserts, soft drinks, and alcohol and high-fat foods. So all of the foods that we collectively term them as junk or non-nutritious or low nutritious or whatever it is, ultra-processed foods, all of these foods versus the lovely foods that we have. We've eaten traditionally, we continue to have them even now. They're still available in the market. Vegetables, fresh fruits, seasonal produce, locally available grains and locally available fruits and vegetables. All of these can add a lot of nourishment and help to bring about a balance, not just in hormones, but in overall body, because they all work in synergy. They cannot work in isolation. None of the foods can work in isolation. So we need a thali, full of different food groups. Like the National Institute of Nutrition has beautifully brought out that plate which says my plate for the day. So they show half a plate filled with vegetables and fruits, a little more than a quarter filled with all the whole grains like brown rice and atta and millets and all of that, and a little less than a quarter which shows protein, and one little strip of oil and the fats that we require, and of course there's a little bit of dairy on the side. So beautiful plate depicted very well, accessible to all on the internet. So please, I would tell everybody to go and look at that plate and start to follow that. They also have dietary guidelines. All of that is very easy to read and follow. So I think it's very important, not just for PCOS. Yes, it is important for PCOS as well, because that's about hormonal imbalance, right?
Yes.
But when you follow a healthy lifestyle like this, the chances of hormonal imbalance is much, much, much reduced.
Absolutely.
And when all these foods are left out and we include better and healthier foods, that is when the hormones start to work better.
Yeah.
And, the periods are regularized and everything works well.
Often people ask that, so you get your proteins and you get your heavy nutritions from your proteins. So there is this conception that people who are vegetarian somehow lose out on certain nutrients. So is that true, or it's all there? Vegetarians, non-vegetarians, irrespective of what, whether they are eating meat or not, the nutrition is in place.
Absolutely. I mean, in India, there are so many vegetarians, right? And they have lived long, they have lived healthy, they have lived well. So, vegetarians can get complete nutrition through eating a well-balanced vegetarian meal. And so also the non-vegetarians, I mean, when we say non-vegetarians, they're not eating non-veg every single meal or every single day. In India, most of the non-vegetarians eat meat, that is, maybe once or twice a week. So it's not like the West where they have meat in every meal. So it's in India, we are slightly different that way. So, and they do get proteins. Vegetarians also get adequate proteins with all the amino acids provided. They use a combination of cereals and pulses. So when I say this, I mean, again, traditionally India has planned its meal so beautifully, right? The vegetarian meal, because we always eat rice and dal, rice and sambar together in the south, or in the east also you have rice and dal. In the north and the west they have roti and dal. So it's always a cereal and pulse combination, and that brings in all the essential amino acids through diet. So proteins are not lacking in a vegetarian meal. And we also have dairy.
I want to ask you a very contentious question.
Yeah.
That is, there is this whole buzz that, becoming vegetarian is actually healthy for the environment also. Please tell us something. That is this just a thing that is fashionable to say, or is this really true? Do you think that the world is moving towards vegetarianism?
I think it is, because there are several studies to show that vegetarian diets, when planned properly, can be healthier and more beneficial to the gut. Because everything starts in our health is in our gut, right? And the bacteria is doing a lot of work for us. So vegetarian diets do have a better effect, or healthier, more beneficial for the gut.
Easier to digest.
Then yes, they are easy to digest, and they do have a better effect and on the gut, on the microbiome. They reduce inflammation, all of that. So yes, there are several studies to show that a plant-based, plant-forward diet, I'm not saying a completely vegan diet, but a vegetarian diet, does have better health effects on health than a totally non-vegetarian diet. And that's the reason why people are beginning to move from being hardcore non-vegetarians to including more vegetarian foods and stuff like that. But again, I must emphasize here that it has to be well balanced, because a vegetarian diet can also be like a plate of French fries and I mean, that's vegetarian, right?
Yes.
So, and it could be,
but it's also extremely unhealthy.
Exactly. So it has to be a wholesome, nutritious vegetarian diet. Yes. Health-wise, yes, there are several studies to show that it is beneficial. And environment-wise, I think there are, because the meat production produces more greenhouse gases and therefore affects the environment, and therefore the climate change is happening. I mean, there are several other factors to it. I'm not an environmentalist, so I would not want to get into the
that.
details
But
of that. But
the eastern part of the country has always, eastern and the southern part of the country has always been high on fish, the fish diet, and be it because of geographical availability, geographical reasons, fish, and
also the cost.
Also the cost.
Yes.
Even if somebody is a vegetarian, do you think that fish is something that is beneficial for the body in the long run? It's one of the easier to digest
compared to
proteins.
Meats. Yes, that's right. So for a meat eater, we nutritionally speaking again, for a meat eater, we say that include more fish and less of red meat and poultry and all of that. Because fish definitely has it has protein like the others do, but it has less of saturated fat. It has omega-3, which is not found so much in the other meats. So it has much more benefits, nutritional benefits compared to the other meats. And so yes, therefore we say fish is better. But having said that, it's not mandatory for a vegetarian to include fish. It's something like saying alcohol, there were some studies, right, which said alcohol is good for you, so please start drinking alcohol 30 ml per day.
Yes,
a glass of wine.
Yes,
right?
It's good for the heart.
Yeah, a glass of wine is good for the heart. So So that was, I think it was misunderstood in a very big way.
So because you debunk, please try and debunk that for us. Like
which one, the fish or the
the alcohol, the wine one.
Okay, so wine, red wine in particular, is made from grapes, right? The black grapes. So that contains a very, very good antioxidant called resveratrol.
Okay.
Right? So some studies it was called the French paradox, if I remember right, some years ago. It was shown that although the French eat meat, but they also drink red wine regularly with their meals, and therefore the heart disease incidence is much less compared to the Americans and all of that. So this is what was believed at that time. In a way, it made sense at that time. So people just picked up that one line of red wine being good for the heart, and it just went globally. It became
I think this is how all these misinformation spreads, because they don't take the context of the place, the culture, the season, the climate.
Yes.
What is good for the French might not be absolutely beneficial or 100% beneficial for people in India, where the climate is tropical. Yes. And
another thing they also found that the French, they eat leisure. They don't hurry through their meals. They take their own time to have their, 1 course, 2 course meals. They relax with their wine. So it is a stress-free environment. Because stress also contributes to heart disease, right? So there are multiple factors. We can't just say wine is everything. So you start drinking wine and your heart is going to be fine. Doesn't work that way. I mean, there are so many factors. Yes. So what I say is, okay, if you're already drinking alcohol and you're used to it, take, occasionally on special occasions, take a glass of wine and stuff like that. But if you're not drinking alcohol, then please don't start.
Okay,
because you will get the same benefit of resveratrol from a glass of grape juice, or even better, eat a bowl of fresh grapes. So that is fine. So the benefit is all there in the natural form, right? So one does not need to start drinking alcohol to get heart health benefits. You can get heart health benefits from so many other foods eaten naturally.
This eating in leisure, like you eat slowly. So as a mother, I'm going to address a very very crucial issue. So my son takes a lot of time to finish his food.
How good.
No, but
that's wonderful.
Yes, but I read somewhere that after 20 minutes your body doesn't really react favorably to the food that you're taking so much time to eat. So you have other things to do. So what is that, the time that you can actually invest in to enjoy your meal? And this is for all of us, not just
Absolutely.
little kids
Absolutely.
who have to kind of do their schoolwork, and they have
Yeah.
a host of activities
Yeah.
they are engaged in. But also people like us who are working, and we are, most of us are working so much, we're so stressed that we just want to kind of wrap up the meal quickly and then head to our next meeting
Yeah.
or assignment. So what is that time that one must invest in to finish that meal, so that the good things happen to the body from that food?
Okay. Let me put it this way. A small meal probably will finish sooner than a larger meal. So I think you can keep aside at least 30 minutes for a nice meal to enjoy. Don't rush through it, because I've seen people actually finish lunch in 5 minutes. Oh no! I don't know, you were one of them.
Oh my
Oh
god.
no. No.
Okay.
You need to be, I mean, you have 24 hours in a day, so I'm sure 30 minutes is not much. Not just setting time. It starts from, putting the right food in the mouth, chewing well,
Chewing.
and eating mindfully. That
And
is so
enjoying
important.
it.
Yes. When you're eating, just eat. Do not do anything else. If you want to have a conversation, that's fine. So there is a social connect there happening with you if you're sitting with friends or family. So that's great. But no other activity, no screen time during eating. So eating mindfully is very important, because not just helps to digest the food, but also you can get your hunger and cues. The cues of hunger and the cues of feeling full are much more clear when you're actually paying attention to the food that you're eating. So when you're about 75% or 80% full, stop eating.
Okay.
When we don't pay attention, or when we don't eat mindfully, we don't know how much we are eating.
Yes.
And we don't know what we are eating sometimes, right?
Yes.
So I think that's very important. So mindful eating is so important. And mindful eating is not about counting calories or counting whether I've eaten 10 grams of protein and 2 grams of fat and all of that. No, mindful eating is paying attention to eating a healthy, well-planned meal and able to digest it well, able to assimilate well. So the digestive enzymes also function better when you're relaxed, when you're paying attention to what you're eating. And that 20%, 25% emptiness helps to maintain everything else, the body weight and good health and all of that. So I think mindful eating is so important. Not 5 minutes.
Sheila ji, I'll kind of raise another topic here, that is obesity. So I notice on social media there are a lot of influencers, or I don't know, people participating in this whole dialogue and in this whole narrative that it's okay to be obese, and they're glorifying it, saying that this is body positivity. I think the whole concept of body positivity is being distorted, and people who are overweight are being kind of encouraged to be overweight by saying that she's happy in her skin, so let her be happy in that girth that she's maintaining. Now what we need to understand is that this is not body positive. You cannot glorify or normalize a health condition that is obesity, because obesity leads to a lot of diseases. So tell us something about what exactly body positivity should be about, and how obese is not being body positive. Being obese is not.
I think you said it beautifully, Sharmi. And I totally agree that being overweight and being obese is leading to a whole lot of diseases, right from in body inflammation. We spoke about that earlier. Pre-diabetes in teenagers because of excess weight, and which later will lead to full-blown diabetes. We have heart disease, high blood pressure, some types of cancer, fatty liver problems.
Hmm.
There are so many problems associated with excess weight, whether overweight or obese, right?
Hmm.
And in India, we have something called the TOFI syndrome, that is thin outside, fat inside,
Okay.
which means a person might be slim and trim, but the person carries much more fat than lean body mass. So a lot of
Okay.
fat is inside the body. So that is not a good thing. So obesity does not mean just being, fat
Hmm.
outside, but a person could also be fat inside, which means
So how
carry
would a person know that?
you can measure it.
Okay.
There are scales to tell you how much of body fat you're carrying. So what I'm trying to say is obesity overall is not great for health. So do not normalize obesity. Do not normalize being overweight or having a huge girth or whatever it may be. That person actually needs to be guided, counseled, guided to move towards a healthier lifestyle.
Hmm.
And I think body positivity is all about accepting that there is a problem and moving towards the right lifestyle and improving health. Body positivity is not about normalizing illness, right?
I think body positivity is also about God has given you a certain shape.
Exactly.
So, you don't have to follow a certain trend of, okay,
Absolutely.
this is in.
Yeah.
So I'll be this. I'll kind of
Right.
not eat properly, or I'll try to reduce, or
Yeah.
I think you
Also
have to accept.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you. Body positivity is also about accepting a person's height. Some people feel that, oh my God, all my siblings and friends are all tall, but I'm short. It's okay to be short. I mean, height is again very genetic, right? So that can be body positivity. And as you rightly said, it could be the shape of a body. That's all fine. Some people are maybe big boned, some people are small boned. How does it matter? It's okay. But do not normalize, out of shape. And, if it is going to be a problem for your health, please do not say that it's normal to be okay. I mean, it's normal to be obese.
I think we also need to stop deriding them and making them feel bad about it, but also very carefully make them understand that this is not normal. It will only lead to health issues.
Absolutely. And don't joke about somebody being overweight or obese, because it's a very sensitive issue. It's not a laughing matter. It has to be taken seriously, and the person has to be counseled, as you said.
Yeah. So, tell us something about how the West is continuously kind of snatching our concepts and marketing them and packaging them and feeding it back to us. When turmeric lattes, pancakes, they've started to call dosas and idlis as pancakes, and a host of other things. Means, what will it take for people to understand that these are our foods and we've always eaten them, and not fall for this whole Western narrative?
But haven't they always been better than us in marketing?
Yes, that they have. We need to learn. We must. Let's face it, that we need to learn that bit from them.
Yes, I think we need to be better at marketing. The right kind of information, the right kind of food.
PR.
Right kind of, yes, absolutely. But we need to market the good things, the healthy stuff, right? There is plenty of marketing for all the junk foods, but we don't see. I mean, nobody says, okay, this vegetable is great for you, eat that regularly. Another example, I mean, you gave beautiful examples, the turmeric latte, which is haldi doodh, and the dosa, of course, which is like a pancake. Moringa. Drumstick leaves. I mean, I remember my mother making drumstick leaves sambar. I'm from Bangalore, right? So drumstick leaves was abundantly available in where I used to live. And she used to make sambar with all those leaves. So nutritious. And I mean, today, moringa powder is like, oh, I have to eat moringa powder in my smoothie. 1 spoon. Why? Just go. I mean, drumstick leaves, drumstick trees are available in India. Just pluck those leaves, put it in your roti or put it in your dal or, whatever, mint leaves, coriander leaves. We have beautiful foods in our country.
We do.
And we just need to use them the right way. So, yes, I mean, there are lessons to learn from the West. I don't deny that. But I think we need to also look inward and in our backyards and go back and read our rich, diverse food culture and try and bring them back. Eat traditional foods, eat healthy Indian, well balanced meals. It's okay to use other cuisines once in a while.
Yes.
It's perfectly all right as long as you know how to balance them.
I think this whole like when I travel to the hills and Pahari khana is rich in the local produce and like everywhere local produce and Pahari khana is cooked in a certain way. It's absolutely
Delicious.
delightful.
Yes.
Yeah. But it's very unnerving to see people thronging to these McDonald's and KFCs that have sprouted in the hills also. And it's a very scary thing that people are slowly kind of moving away from the regional cuisines to all these very robotic food that is available. So the government has to intervene.
Absolutely.
Somewhere. They have to. It's always not about money. It's always not about getting global brands. It's obviously about popularizing your own culture, popularizing your own foods, making a healthy generation, making people much more healthy and aware. Spread the awareness that this is not good, this is much better.
Absolutely.
So,
I completely agree. And I mean, there are plenty of qualified dietitians and nutritionists in this country, and involve them in many activities. It's not just about, we don't have to sit in hospitals all the time and counsel patients. We can be involved in every activity that requires health, eating right, and all of these, because we are really talking about the next generation's health.
Exactly.
And
I went to this cafe. It was a lifestyle cafe, and they have food powered by Ayurveda. So very interesting concept that they have done is they have gotten their burgers and their pizzas and all, but it's all made from indigenous ingredients that is available in India. And they're like that. See, this you have to kind of merge the contemporary and the traditional to kind of make youngsters realize that this can be fun too.
Absolutely.
So I think we need more such entrepreneurs. We need more such people who will ideate on this and make the food, the traditional and the indigenous food segment much more interesting.
Absolutely, I totally agree with you in that. Sorry. And now we have even the some of the food companies that are making foods with using whole grains and unpolished cereals and using natural sweetening agents like dates and figs and things like that. Yeah. And there are so many clean labels, basically, not using unwanted ingredients to additives and stuff like that. So there are, even the food companies, I think, are becoming aware, and we have a few that have started to do good stuff like this in India. And I hope many more such people will come up, and I hope the existing food manufacturing companies also can move towards making healthier products. I mean, there is a demand, because let's face it, not many people have the time to cook. So sometimes they do depend on somebody else to provide food for them, right?
Yes.
So whether it's a cafeteria meal that is being served by a caterer, or the food manufacturing companies, whatever, I think everybody needs to participate and sit in a brainstorm session and discuss how to make India healthier.
Yes.
How to make India eat better.
Yes, and also, there has to be some regulation also, because I feel there are so many companies claiming that this is organic and this is chemical free, but for a layman, the price is also a factor. So for the layman, it's very difficult to understand who to believe and who not to. So how does one do that?
I think See, okay, on the one hand, FSSAI has brought in some symbols that a person can see and recognize. Like we have the brown triangle and the green dot, right? Vegetarian versus non-vegetarian. Similarly, they have the F logo for fortified foods. So there are some, and for organic also there is, I think, there is a symbol for organic foods which the government provides. I can't remember the name just now, but there is something which FSSAI gives. So there are some recognizable logos that people can follow and then understand which is A and B and C. But I think it's also important to speak to nutritionists or healthcare professionals and try and get the right information from them as to what is authentic and what is not. Yeah.
Sheela ji, tell us about some of the magic foods or superfoods that you think everybody must include in their diets on a daily basis.
Everything. Because there is no single magical food, or there is no food which can be a superfood and kind of a remedy for all problems.
So you are completely advocating balance.
Absolutely. Balance is the key, and that is the foundation for good health.
Okay. And it has always been the foundation of the Indic food culture in our country.
Yes.
So thank you so much for talking to us. Thank you so much for telling us, what is important about foods in India and how health is so related to what we eat. And we want to hear much more from you, but and we will keep doing that as and when we meet. Thank you so much for meeting us and talking to us.
My pleasure. And thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you.
Thank you.